Today we are here to prove to the world that you picked the wrong families, the wrong state, the wrong police officers, the wrong community.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at the grisly and horrifying true story of the Idaho killer.
Now to North Idaho, where 4 University of Idaho students were found dead in an off-campus house yesterday morning.
5 people lived in the 3-story rental house nestled at 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho. Around 2 a.m. on November 13, 2022, roommates Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk were fast asleep in the house. The others had just returned home. They were 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves, a general studies major, 21-year-old Madison Mogan, or Maddie, a marketing major, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle, another marketing major, and 20-year-old Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend and a major in sports management.
We do know, as you said, Doug, 4 people dead, all students here at the University of Idaho.
Earlier that evening, Xana and Ethan were at a frat party at the nearby Sigma Chi house, and they returned home around 1:45 a.m. Kaylee and Maddie arrived about 15 minutes later at 1:56, having spent the night at a downtown bar and then eating at a local food truck. This house was not well secured. It was a known party house with frequent visitors, very little security, and multiple entry points. Unfortunately, around 4 a.m. that night, an intruder got in.
He tried to take everything from me. My friends, my safety, my identity, my future. He took their lives, but I will continue trying to be like them to make them proud.
Between 4 and 4:25 that morning, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan were all murdered by the intruder in a violent knife attack.
November 16th, police reveal the 4 victims were stabbed to death.
The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time.
Newly released police and coroner reports reveal an extremely violent scene. Blood was smeared on the walls, Kaylee's face was disfigured, and Xana had suffered from over 50 stab wounds. A key witness to the crime proved to be surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen. She reportedly heard one of the victims saying, quote, "There's someone here," and observed the sounds of crying coming from Xana's room. She also heard a man saying, quote, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." When she opened the door to check what was going on, she saw a man walking down the hallway. He was reportedly wearing black clothing and a mask that obscured most of his face, and Mortensen claims that he had, quote, "bushy eyebrows."
The affidavit states their surviving roommate then opens her door a 3rd time. She sees a masked man walking past her towards the sliding glass door in the kitchen. In frozen shock, she locks her door.
He walked past Dylan and left the house through a sliding glass door. She and the other surviving roommate, Bethany Funk, then locked themselves in a room. The police were not called until 11:58 that morning, more than 7 hours after the murders had occurred. Instead, Dylan and Bethany contacted friends. The delay was likely due to a number of factors. Mortensen assumed that the victims were drunk, not hurt or dead, and they may have been in a state of shock, with their responses mirroring trauma-related disorientation. And as we said, visitors in this house were not rare, even in the early morning hours. When the police finally arrived, they were immediately met with a grave situation. Moscow PD hadn't investigated a murder in 7 years prior to this, and now they had 4 in a single night. Amid the mess, investigators discovered a critical piece of evidence, a knife sheath left on Maddie Mogan's bed. Amazingly, a single source of male DNA was recovered from the sheath's snap button. They also scoured nearby surveillance cameras and found a white Hyundai Elantra that passed by the victim's house multiple times. This same car was also observed speeding away from the area at 4:20 a.m., around the time that Dylan reported seeing the mysterious man leaving her house.
4:20 a.m., police say the white sedan is seen leaving the neighborhood at a high rate speed. 5:25 a.m., authorities say that same vehicle is seen on 5 cameras back in the Pullman area, near where the suspect lives.
They then flagged one Bryan Kohberger, a criminology grad student at Washington State University, who owned a Hyundai Elantra and lived just 10 miles away in Pullman, Washington. With this, they had a prime suspect.
Authorities say a white sedan consistent with a vehicle registered to Kohberger is seen traveling towards the highway that connects Pullman and Moscow. It's only about a 10-mile drive between the 2 cities.
Police then checked Kohberger's phone records and found a red flag. It had been completely disconnected from the network during the time of the murders. Cell tower data also showed that his phone had been in the victim's neighborhood at least 12 times in the weeks before the murders, and often late at night.
An interview with one of 2 surviving roommates, Bethany Funk, also now emerging.
She told police that just days before the murders, Gonzalez told her she had seen an unknown man near their house, staring at her while she took her dog for a walk.
His phone was also pinged near the crime scene around 9 a.m. on the morning of the murders, as if he had returned to observe the aftermath of his work.
Police department does not believe that there is a current ongoing threat. People do not have to shelter in place, according to the police, but they also say that they don't exactly have a suspect narrowed down right now.
With the case against him looking good, police then tailed Kohberger to his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania over winter break. There, agents recovered trash containing his father's DNA. They matched the parental DNA to the sample that was found on the knife sheath, confirming a close genetic match and giving them probable cause to arrest Kohberger. He was arrested by a SWAT team at 1 a.m. on the morning of December 30th, 2022.
Prosecutors say DNA from a Q-tip came from the father of whoever's DNA was found on the button snap of a K-bar knife sheath found at the crime scene underneath Madison Mogen's body.
The prosecution had overwhelming circumstantial and forensic evidence tying Kohberger to the crime. Likely knowing that the case against him was ironclad, Kohberger pled guilty to all 4 murders on July 2nd, 2025. With this deal, he avoided the death penalty, waived his right to appeal, and was given 4 consecutive life sentences.
Quadruple murderer Bryan Kohberger woke up in a maximum security prison today. This is his new mugshot from when he arrived there yesterday.
As for Kohberger himself, he was born on November 21st, 1994, and raised in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. His early life was marked by personal troubles, including the fact that he was overweight, a personal trait which led to frequent torment at school. In senior year, classmates noticed a significant change in Kohberger, both mentally and physically. He had reportedly lost around 100 pounds and exhibited an intense shift in personality, becoming far more aggressive and even tormenting others. Some have attributed this dramatic weight loss to drugs, as various people who knew Kohberger report that he used heroin. In fact, one friend attributes his shift in personality to the drugs, telling Inside Edition, quote, "He started doing heroin. That changed everything."
Just when you thought you knew everything about Bryan Kohberger slaughtering 4 University of Idaho students, comes this. A new book reveals when he was younger, Kohberger was a cat burglar who broke into homes to steal cash to support his drug habit.
Regardless of the drug use, Kohberger then attended Northampton Community College, and his life took on an exceptional course. He earned a Master of Arts in Criminal Justice in June 2022 and soon began a criminology PhD at Washington State while working as a teaching assistant.
Kohberger was pursuing a PhD in criminology at Washington State University. Prior assignments published in public court documents outline his research in collecting evidence from crime scenes and how to prevent contamination.
But faculty at WSU raised concerns about his behavior toward women, and he was terminated from his teaching position that December due to misconduct and performance issues.
You saw his professional career unravel, so that by the time of the night of the murders, he's got nothing to lose.
He also reportedly struggled with various mental health issues. Court-documented material shows that he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and obsessive-compulsive disorder, and he openly shared his feelings of depression and dissociation. Fellow inmates and co-workers also describe him as socially awkward, frequently sleep-deprived, and obsessive, often washing his hands dozens of times a day.
Kohberger he was not particularly personable. He didn't have a very fluid or conversational manner in talking. He was just a little bit awkward and maybe sociably would be somewhat awkward in social situations.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. But unfortunately, the biggest question of all remains unanswered. Why did he do it?
After his arrest, Bryan Kohberger's DNA was deemed a perfect match to the only male DNA found on that sheath, something his lawyers would spend years working to keep out of evidence presented at trial.
Kohberger has refused to explain why he committed the murders, and prosecutors did not require a motive as part of the plea agreement. As such, the motive remains ambiguous and undetermined. Investigators have confirmed that there was no real-world or online link between Kohberger and the victims, and rumors suggesting that he targeted them through social media are unsupported by evidence.
So many of them were looking directly at him, talking to him, looking him in the eye, begging for answers, really. And he was just stone cold, Elizabeth.
That said, a number of theories have emerged. He may have sought psychological stimulation, being a prior student of criminology. Some argue that the violence is rooted in misogyny or resentment towards successful and socially active women.
He had ironically overcome a lot of obstacles: heroin addiction, poverty, being an outsider, being very overweight. Yet he got himself into a PhD class at Washington State University, but he could not keep his misogynistic views about women to himself.
One popular theory is that he may have targeted one specific woman, maybe out of jealousy, resentment, or rejection, and the rest were incidental victims who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. This partly explains why he left both Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk alive.
The book says his primary target was Maddie Mogan, who he may have met at the vegan restaurant where she was a waitress and tried to date.
He may well have asked Maddie out, and she probably flicked her hair and said, huh, not a chance. She did that often.
But despite these theories, none have been verified. And unless new and credible records emerge, or unless Kohberger explains himself, which seems unlikely, the motive will remain the biggest unanswered question of all.
Well, this prison here outside of Boise, about 20 minutes outside of the city, is where Kohberger is beginning to serve out that life sentence. But it appears that a motive in this case may be going into solitary confinement with him forever. He has never offered any remorse, nothing in court yesterday, any emotion or any details about why he did what he did.